Good afternoon, my friends. It is taking me a moment, or I need a moment to compose myself. I was so pleased and so proud of what you just did. Your prayers, your thoughts, and your energy has been acknowledged, and those on the higher dimensions will be working on fortifying and maintaining what you have created today.
Thank you, Carl.
You you need to understand. When I walked the earth plane, I was a very poor boy from a very rural place who heard voices that no one else heard, as you know. And as I grow older, I began to become the medium and become the teacher. But I never thought that what I would establish and what I taught would be carried forward way beyond the time I left your plane. And for what you have just done, the magnitude of its importance has moved me to my very core. I would have never visualized this, and I was one who could see the future, but I did not see this. So I am immensely proud of the work that you just did, and the fact that I had anything to do with providing the knowledge and the pathways for that to happen has moved me greatly. Now it is time for us to be the oracles and to bring you the information that you are seeking. And that too was part of what I wanted to happen. So it is with great joy again that I'm here to serve you and to facilitate and be the master ceremonies between the people the spirits who will talk to you and provide the answers that you seek. First question, please.
Well, first, thank you so much, Carl, for being here and for those on the other side. The first question is from Linda A. Why does manifesting something joyful and very much desired take so long to come to fruition? How can we increase the velocity?
The answer to your question has to do with the mechanics of manifestation. As you were taught, thoughts are things. So there are millions of people on the planet who are manifesting millions of thoughts to go out into the ether waves. So when you are trying to manifest something, you need to put more energy into it than just the mere thought that you have, like the thought that, oh, I'm running out of bread and I need to go to the store. Well, that resonates into the ether waves just as much as the thoughts that you want to manifest. So in order for it to be separated from the everyday thoughts, that the things that you wish to manifest, you need to put more concentrated energy in it. It's more than just what you need from the grocery store. It is an important thing, important item that you want to have happen, an important event that you want to have happen. So therefore, you need to sit and give it some proper energy. There are techniques where people create energy through their breathing techniques to empower their thoughts. They send the thought on when they breathe in that particular way. The thought gets put onto that frequency, on that vibration, and therefore it is boosted beyond your shopping list. And therefore it goes out into the ether waves. You must remember that your thoughts need to go into a frequency that is quite high, and therefore it is, to say it the only way I can think of it, you are living in a dimension where you are in a time flow. It is actually not there, but everyone on the planet has their clocks and has their watches, and you are constantly measuring time, and therefore you have created the flow within your thinking. And for this thought that you want to manifest, it must go beyond the time flow up into the frequencies of higher vibration, and then it needs to lower itself. But when it lowers itself, it can't come back because you've already left that particular point in time, and therefore it comes into your future. So therefore there is always a delay between when you project the thought. Even if you project the thought quite accurately and with lots of energy, it will take some time for it to manifest. That is just the way it is. Now, if you project that thought with 1,000 watts of energy, if I use that term, if I can use that term, it will come back faster than if you manifest it with 50 watts of energy. It's just like your light bulbs, the way they used to be, and therefore it has to, part of the answer has to do with what with the amount of energy and your technique of projecting it. Needless to say, it will come, it will manifest if you do it properly. The other thing you have to remember, and this is of the utmost importance, is that you cannot have any bit of doubt when you are doing this. When you sit down to bring a manifestation into being, you sit down as a God of knowingness. You can connect to that white energy that you just did, that white powerful energy. There's no doubt in that white energy. And that unified energy, it is crystalline, it is powerful, it is there. There is nothing that can disturb it. And that is the mindset that you need to be in when you sit to manifest. You can't hope it's going to happen. You absolutely have to positively know that it will happen. You cannot predict the hour or the time it will happen, but you know it will happen with that amount of certainty. Absolute certainty. So when you sit down to do this, you sit down within that particular attitude, in that vibration. You send out the thought on that frequency. If you can breathe it out the proper way, that also helps. And therefore, it will manifest. You know it will manifest. And therefore, we cannot adjust anything with the speed. Just because it's joyful doesn't mean it's going to come back faster than if it wasn't joyful. It is simply the way it works, the way it is. As you increase your experience with manifestation, you will become better at it, and there is a very good possibility it could start to happen quicker. If you think about the Master Jesus who came to the earth, he was able to manifest things within a manner of minutes, but he had the knowledge, he had the frequencies, he had the brain capacity of working at 100% brain capacity that helped to facilitate all this. So it is possible, but for you are working on most of you are not working on 100% of brain capacity yet. and therefore it takes a bit more time. But do not be discouraged. Keep on doing what you know what will happen, using the techniques that you have been taught, because it will happen. And as the more you use it, the better you will become at manifestation. Yeah.
The next question is from Fenton. On several occasions during previous trance questions and answer sessions, both Carl and other spirit guides have commented that the current battle between the light and dark forces will be won by the light forces. Could you please elaborate on how this battle is being fought and what is the evidence that the light forces are winning or will win? How long has this battle been going on, and why is it coming to a head in this time period?
My friend, since the beginning of time, when man first started walking on this planet, there has been a certain few people who wanted to control others. As time progressed, their systems of control became more and more prominent. They preyed upon the fear of mankind, and they said that certain things would happen unless they placated a god, an invisible being, which they claimed they could intercede with. These people became the priests, and they used religion to control the people. They used religion as a way to support themselves. They used religion as a way to keep people under control and to keep them, bringing them food and money and clothes and all kinds of things that they wanted. And they kept this system alive for thousands and thousands of years. Eventually, as the control of religions broke down, the people who didn't replace but shared the power were the politicians, the kings, the queens, the rulers of the politics of the nations. They also were sought to keep people in control, and therefore they continue to create laws and different things to control the people. As technology increased, as time went on, the control of religion has dwindled quite a bit, but the power of the people in the governments have increased. There are also people in your current time who are in business that want to control people and have everyone buy from them. So this concept of controlling humanity and limiting their freedom has been going on for eons and eons of time. What you have witnessed today in that video are the people who are the dark forces, the people who worship money, the people who want the control over spirituality and light. They want this to happen, and therefore they are doing everything in their power to enslave people even further than they are now. And this is why these earthquakes and everything that they're having, they can control the weather to a certain extent, and they can create storms and disasters and all this other stuff, all for their own purposes. For they understand the same principle that was used thousands and thousands of years ago. It needs to be played upon, the emotion of fear. People are not afraid of an invisible God as much as they used to be. But if conditions can be created where people become frightened of natural disasters, if people become frightened of diseases, if people can become frightened, then they can use that fear to enslave them even further. And this is what the war is all about. As you have heard, the world is going to an age of knowledge and enlightenment. It is an age where these people who have been enslaving people will no longer be able to carry forth their enslavement. They will meet an end to what they can do. They will be defeated in the end. Evidence of this is very difficult to actually provide. You could go into the Bible where Jesus talked about the end times coming, and it couldn't be predicted exactly when it would happen. But an eon of thousands of years of peace, light, and harmony was to be established. You are living in the end times he talked about. You are living in the transition where the forces of good and forces of darkness are in battle with each other, and therefore, what will occur is eventually the defeat of the dark forces. The specifics of how this happens is difficult because, as we've talked about before, and as was mentioned this morning, the future is not cast in stone. There are multiple possibilities of ways things can happen, and things are in quite a bit of flux. You have a term of tug of war where two forces are pulling the same rope. And at one point, one side is winning, and then the other side gets its strength and pulls back, and they begin to win, and it goes back and forth. And this is what is happening in this war between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. There is this back and forth. There are these multiple possibilities. There are, depending on what happens, depends on where things will flow. So it is not easy or possible to give you a specific list of points that point A will happen, point B, point C, then this, then that. That is an impossibility. But we can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that in the end, the light forces will win, and the forces of darkness will come to a close. And that is the best I can do to answer your question, my friend.
Thank you. The next question is from Joan A. This question concerns the abilities of house cats in general, and one of mine, my cat Maggie. She goes in and out. Sometimes she will stay out for days or more than a week. I do not know where she goes, and I've been told by an animal communicator that she shapeshifts. My question is this true? Does Maggie shapeshift? I feel she is unusual in many ways, and this may explain why she stays away for so long. Do all cats have this ability?
The answer to your question is no, not every cat has that ability. It's very similar to humans. You have certain people who can communicate with the world of spirit, and then there are those who cannot. That the cat that you have is a very special cat. Its soul is more progressed than the most cats. It has Let me put it to you this way, in terms you may understand. There are people who are very nearsighted, and when they take their glasses off, they can't see very much. They can't see more than some people 4 or 5 inches beyond their face. Everything is quite blurry because they are so nearsighted. Yet, when they have the correct lenses over their eyes, they can see great distances, miles and miles and miles away. Your cat has that ability built in to, to go further because it has the understanding, it has the spiritual knowledge, if you want to put it that way, uh, to know that it can travel. It can travel as different beings. It can travel. It can change its shape. It can change its existence, as you call it, shape shifting, and go and do and explore other things. Your cat is in your life to give you support and give you that reassurance on a frequency level that you may not realize. And the cat goes out and has these adventures, we'll call it, and they come back and they share those adventures with you on a frequency and on a subconscious level. You may not be aware of it, but they are bringing back that information to share with you. And you are very fortunate to have this particular animal in your life. And it is there to help you and assist you in these times.
Thank you. The next question is from Mary C. My question is, what products emit 5G energies? And is 5G energy damaging to us? If so, what can we do to minimize our exposure?
It is sad to say that this 5G that you are talking about does have some negative consequences on many humans. It is, it would be important for you, for anyone living in your frequency at this time, to take some time to do some self-healing, to work on your energy, to very similar to how you work today in your service. You sat down and you had a link into the divine crystalline energy. That energy is very protective, it's very healing. So for you to take some time and to fill your body with that energy and ask the Lord God of your being, to ask your soul to absorb that energy, to command your soul to go and tell your body, that tell each and every cell of your body to absorb that white light, to absorb that white energy, and to heal each and every cell, is something that you can do each and every day. And that will definitely help to protect you against the effects of the 5G. You have to realize that if you could turn the clock back 150 years, you would be living in a time where all these frequencies that surround you in your current day didn't exist. You didn't have the electricity, you didn't have the microwaves, you didn't have the telephones and the televisions and the radios and all these different frequencies that are vibrating around you at your current time of existence. In those days, it didn't exist. Some of these frequencies are harmless to the physical body, but others of them are not. And therefore, you live in this type of frequency pollution, if I can use that term, and therefore it is something that your bodies have to become adjusted to and deal with. But doing self healing, like I just mentioned, helps to bring the body back into a more balanced position, a more strong position, so that it can also defend itself against the frequencies that are surrounding your planet. There is no magic way of getting out of these frequencies unless you build a very special type of room that prevents all these kind of frequencies from entering. But that, I believe, would be quite expensive to do. It's kind of like, if you understand the term, a Faraday cage, where a person can sit in this cage and electricity gets shot through it, and yet that person's not affected by it. So if you could create that kind of room and that kind of blockage around that would block all these different frequencies, then could exist without that. But who would want to live in that type of prison 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? So it is very difficult. What we can recommend is that your telephones that you are currently using, it would be wise to be able to use it without holding it close to your head. Uh, by using a type of headset or something that you could keep a distance. That is one set of protections. There are certain filters that can be put on the phone that can also cut down on the 5G rays from that. But the most danger that you have from the 5G is through that instrument, through the telephone, because you are bringing it so close to your own brain, and therefore can be a problem. But to live without these rays is almost impossible these days. So we just ask that you. The smartest thing to do is to connect with the crystalline energy and to heal yourselves on a regular basis.
Thank you, Spirit. The next question is from Susan Yu. Spirit, can you relay your perception of the master teacher Ramtha to us from your perspective? Thank you. Also, being in spirit, can you go anywhere and drop in for teachings, learnings, experiences, and be enriched by them from your point of perspective as an observer? Thank you so very much. All is appreciated.
From time to time, the earth plane has been visited by selfless entities who have come to assist humanity in their spiritual progression. These entities who have come have usually been great teachers, and many of them had followers. And when the teacher was no longer there, these followers sought to institutionalize their teachings. And for most of them, religions were created around their teachings. Unfortunately, over time, the teachings would get corrupted and the spiritual nature would be lost, mostly because the leaders of that particular religion became more interested in and more greedy and more lusting for power, and because they were in a position of leadership, and therefore they corrupted the teachings. You have people like Buddha, you have people like Jesus, you have people like Muhammad, you have people like Zarathustra, who came to the world to teach and to leave a spiritual footprint behind. The footprint has been covered over by the sands of time, and their teachings are no longer as spiritually true as they were when the words came out of their mouths centuries ago. The entity you are asking about, Ramtha, the enlightened one, is one who has also come to the earth plane, but he has come in a way that it was different from many of his predecessors, because he did not come to the world in a physical body. He has brought his spirit into the world and has used a instrument, has used what we would term as a medium to speak through and teach through and set forth a set of teachings. You are fortunate to be living in a time where the words of the master have been recorded and have been set down so they cannot be edited. They will not be changed as happened in the past. That technology did not exist, or the only thing that they had was to write it down on paper and then someone else could edit it. But you have the recordings, and the recordings have been duplicated over and over in multiple copies. So even if someone tried to edit one, they could not edit all. So the teachings are there. Ramtha has come to assist you at this time, because it is the time of this great turbulence between this fight between the people of the good side and the light side and the people of darkness. And he has come to empower the light and to change the odds, if you want to look at it that way, to set up an army of people who have the spiritual knowledge to manifest things and to bring forth a more enlightened civilization upon this planet. And that is the purpose that he has come and taught for these very many years.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me. There were two questions. I need the second one repeated, please.
Okay. Also, being in spirit, can you go anywhere and drop in for teachings, learnings, experiences, and be enriched by them from your point of perspective as an observer?
That is also a tricky question to answer, because as you well know, the world of spirit has many different frequencies and many different levels. And if you, let's just say, to make life simple, that we talk about 7 different levels, and you enter the level when you enter the spirit world that you have earned during your life. You understand that. So let's say that you end up on the 5th level when you end up in the spirit world. Well, on that level, you have certain privileges or certain abilities to travel to certain places and to, as you say, observe things and watch things. However, you cannot travel to the 6th level because you haven't gained entrance there. You haven't earned that. You haven't developed your spirituality to that point. So you cannot go to where the same places that a 6th level entity could go to, or a 7th level entity. They would have dimensions and experiences that would not be open to you because you have not earned that yet. So once you in this world of spirit, you can continue your evolution, you can continue your study, and therefore you can learn to advance yourself and go into the 6th level, and all of a sudden that opens up many more opportunities for you to have many other places for you to visit that you couldn't have done when you were on the 5th level, but you have to be able to earn that. So if you understand that process, the answer to your question is yes, but it's also no. There are certain places you cannot go to because you would not be ready for that, because you haven't evolved to that particular point yet. And please do remember that many people who go to the spirit world choose to visit people on lower levels in order to help and teach them so they can develop further and go into the next level up. So that would be the answer to your question.
Thank you. And the next question is from Carol C. Some people are saying that John Kennedy Jr. and his father, President Kennedy, are alive, and that John Kennedy Jr., JFK Jr., is using an alias of -48 to communicate with people via various media outlets. Is that true? Are they alive?
The answer to your question is yes. These entities that you mentioned have come to the planet in order to facilitate change. We spoke recently about certain people coming to teach spiritual truths. Well, the entities you have asked have come not to teach spiritual truths, but to be leaders, to march people into a more enlightened path, not through spirituality, but through their political knowledge, their political connections, and setting up parameters for a society to live peacefully with each other. Both of these people were chosen. Both of these people were chosen for this particular role before they came into the earth plane. When they walked the earth plane, when you knew of their walking on the earth plane, they came into a point of where they are trying to set certain changes into existence that threaten the dark forces. The forces of light understood what was happening, and they manipulated certain frequencies to allow these people to go into a different time frame, a time frame that is still in the future of your existence right now. And these entities have been living in a different frequency in order to, or I should say different time frame, in order to protect them so that when their time was needed, they could be brought back and to set and to be the leaders in a not spiritual way, but a more political way, a more popular person way into the future. This was all planned. For as we explained to you before, eventually light will win. But everything must play out according to its own natural way. For some great being to land on the earth and spread his hands out or her hands out and say a few words, and all of a sudden everything's good and all the darkness has dissipated, is not the way it can happen. It would not benefit humankind, because they would simply say, oh, we can do whatever we want again, and some grand person will come and save us once again. There are so many people who are thinking that there are saviors out in the world that will save things, save them from sin, from damnation, and other things. And that is not the case. So what needs to happen is that the forces of darkness must be defeated by the forces of light. And the people that you mentioned are key players in helping to the forces of light to win. Therefore, for their protection, they were taken out and moved into another time and are now being brought back into your present time. There will be a time not too far in your future where these people will make their presence known again. Certain few people know about this, and this is how the word or the rumors have been spreading. Yes, even though it sounds fantastical, they are alive, and they will be here to help you in the days to come.
Thank you. Our next question is from Carol B. I would like to ask about the Sphinx in Egypt and Stonehenge in England. Edgar Casey spoke about a hidden chamber underneath the Sphinx with records that will one day be found. Can you please elaborate on what the contents of the chambers are, and if it will be found in the next few years? For Stonehenge, there is a theory that it was a landing platform for aircraft from other worlds. What is the history of this great place?
The history of Stonehenge, as you mentioned, was a great landing place for ships from people living in other planets and other worlds who came to this planet, your planet, in order to monitor and observe what was happening. The other worlds do not want to interfere with the natural evolution. They have at times. They have stimulated and have made things happen faster. But they try not to do that as much as possible. However, if the scales get tipped and the forces of darkness are looking as if they will appear to win the battle, then these people from the other worlds will step forth and balance this out and maybe even help to conquer the forces of darkness. So therefore, know that they are on your side, that they are present, and that they are there to and will assist when the time is right. There have been predictions of all kinds of destruction from different types of bombs and other things, and we want you to understand that that will not happen because the people from the other worlds will not permit that, for they are interested in preserving the planet Earth as not so much as a colony for them, but for the spiritual development of humankind that is here. They are interested in assisting, for they understand that the forces of darkness have totally inhibited the development of this planet, and that it is thousands of years behind other planets. So they are here to make sure that that things will happen that will destroy eventually the forces of darkness. You ask about the records that are under the Sphinx. Those records contain information about the other civilizations, the civilizations that actually built the pyramids, and how they built them, and how they used all their brain power in order to levitate the stones, and how they the great secrets, the great technologies that they employed. These technologies will eventually be unearthed. You have at the moment a big push to change the way that you use energy, to leave the petroleum behind and to use electric. In most cases, the way we see it, it's just exchanging one problem for another. Yes, it's a little bit better, but not all that much. But the other planets, the people on the other planets travel on beams of light. They travel on ways that do not pollute the universe. They are able to do this, and these secrets, these technologies are buried underneath the Sphinx and will someday be unearthed.
Thank you. So we have one more question. You mentioned a period of 1,000 years of peace. Does that mean that darkness will return after that 1,000 years of peace?
Again, we are talking about something that is way off into the future, and there are many different things that could change what is seen at any one particular time. What is meant by the 1,000 years of peace is that in this period of enlightenment, so many other opportunities will be created, will be discovered, will be done, that things will not be recognizable. If you had a time machine and could go back to the time that Jesus walked the earth plane 2,000 years ago, you would discover that the world was a very, very, very different place. Without the electricity, without the lights, without the heat, without the refrigeration, without so many things that you have developed, you could say that life is completely changed between his time and yours. Imagine a fertile time of enlightenment and of thought and of creation for 1,000 years. We cannot even begin to describe to you what we could possibly see. And yet all of that is in the potential of what's happening. So we talk about 1,000 years of peace, not that the darkness will come back, but that is about as far as we could project, because everything is so different then than it is now. I hope you understand.
Thank you, everyone in spirit. That is our last question. We appreciate you so much. Thank you. Our love to you.
It has been our pleasure for us to provide the answers for the questions that you seek. It has been our honor today to do so. And it has been our honor today to witness what you sat and did, and know that we will assist the foundation that you laid down today, and that we will seek out other beings and other places and other sources to build upon this. We will also be inspiring other groups in your earth plane to sit and do the same thing that you just did. Because united in thought, you are more powerful, as you know. So my heart is filled with joy, and my cup overfloweth with what has happened today. And I am so proud to know each and every one of you. Whenever you feel a moment of weakness, do not hesitate to call my name, and I will be there, for I am only a thought away. Open your mind to me when you call upon me, and listen for my words. For you all can hear the still small voice and of spirit that we provide. And whether or not you actually hear it clairaudiently, or just feel it, or just know it, know that we can affect your thoughts. And as a last ditch effort, if we cannot get through to you in your waking state, we can also answer your questions and give you support in your dreams. But that is the easiest way for us to communicate with human beings, because their defenses are down, their subconscious is down. They are not protecting themselves from anything or interfering with anything. And therefore, we can always send a dream. So do not ignore your dreams, but be conscious of them, especially if you send out thoughts to spirit for assistance. And with that note, we are going to withdraw. My blessings, my great love is with all of you. So be it.